What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. So I just finished watching the first episode of WandaVision. Now, as you guys know, I've been telling you guys for a while now that I'm going to start watching WandaVision. And I'm glad that I did. This episode was pretty darn interesting. So, before I get into this video, just want to remind you guys, if you haven't done so, subscribe to my channel, hit like and share. It really means a lot to me and to the channel that you guys subscribe. You guys are what drives this channel, so I appreciate it in advance. Now, my reaction to this episode is under my YouTube memberships, along with a whole bunch of other stuff. Now, if you're not aware, my YouTube memberships has two levels over there. Level 1 is for $2.99. You're going to get priority replies from me, special polls, and live streams. Level 2 is for $4.99. You're going to get everything that Level 1 has, plus you're going to get all of my reactions to shows like this. Let's see, House of the Dragon, She-Hulk, Naruto, Dragon Ball, any movies that I may watch, and all of my uncut Try Not to Laughs. So make sure that you guys go over there to become a member if you want to see my reaction to the show. But anyway, so let's get into it. So, you guys have been telling me so much that WandaVision explains a lot when it comes to Wanda. And this first episode was interesting. I did not expect it to look like this, but it started off as like a real old school black and white comedy. It was like a little sitcom, and it had its funny moments. I like how Wanda and Vision kind of have this quirky little old school relationship in this episode. And then there's the nosy neighbor who just pops up and wants to know all about her and thinks that she's single. Now, this episode, it is really, really cute because they're together. There's no kids or anything like that. He's going to work and she's obviously, taking care of the house. And so he says, oh, it's a special occasion on the calendar, and they have the calendar marked on that day with a heart. And both of them don't know what this occasion is. They're kind of like playing off of each other, and neither one of them know what it means. Both of them are confused. One thinks that the other one knows what it is. So then he goes off to work, and then he actually has to change his face before he leaves out, so he looks like a human. So he leaves, and then you got the nosy neighbor that comes in. And she's kind of like asking all these questions and wants to know all about her. And somehow it gets into how they're, celebrating a special occasion. And the woman asks her, okay, is it a birthday? What is it? It's an anniversary. And so here comes Wanda. Yeah, it's an anniversary. So they go into this whole planning thing, right? Because at first, Wanda doesn't really know what she's asking her when she's just like, okay, well, what are you going to do? And she's like, well, what do you mean? They still don't understand things of this world. Like, it's so bizarre to see them in this light, and it's really interesting. So she's kind of playing off of the neighbor, and she's like, oh, you clearly don't need to do anything, but I can help you plan. You've got to do something special. So they're sitting here planning this whole romantic night. Meanwhile, we see Vision. He's at work. The way that he is working is literally like, I don't know, like it's super fast. He's typing super fast. So then they're all talking and everything, and his boss comes out, and his boss's last name is Hart. So at that point, he says to him, oh, you can't forget about tonight. He was like, tonight? What? What are you talking about, Mr. Hart? And he starts to piece things together. He was like, the heart. That's why I drew the heart on the calendar. So then he calls Wanda. He's trying to let Wanda know, like, okay, we got to switch plans. Wanda's playing off of his words, and she's like, yeah. And at one point, he's like, I think we got to pay more attention to the husband. No, the wife. And he's like, well, I think you should pay more attention to the husband. Like, thinking that she's actually doing something good. Still, they don't know what's going on. He's not being clear. So then they end up getting to the house that night. Now she's got a candlelit dinner. She's got what looks like dimmed lights. She comes down in some type of nightgown. And then it's almost like at one point I'm like, okay, did you not realize that that wasn't Vision? So she comes behind the boss. She's covering his eyes, like, guess who? And she's like, oh. And they're like, what is this? Who are you? And oh my gosh, this whole disaster happened. So now at this point, they go into the kitchen. She's dressed a certain way. He's basically telling them, like, yeah, she's from England. That's how they greet people. I'm like, oh my gosh. So they go into the kitchen and they're finally clearing the air. So now she has to figure out how to make them dinner. So of course she calls on her neighbor. Her neighbor comes with everything she needs. She's trying to stick around, and she seems nosy as hell, but then she ends up leaving. So Wanda's just trying to figure things out. Meanwhile, Vision is trying to keep them entertained, and the whole time his wife, the boss's wife, doesn't look really that interested. She's just hungry as heck. And now I feel like there's so much time that has went on. And Wanda's still in the kitchen trying to figure stuff out. She had lobsters that flew out of the window. She had a chicken that turned into eggs. I was like, oh my gosh. Wow. So she was like, all right. At one point, she's like, I gotta improvise. So she made breakfast. So now they're all sitting. Dinner is served. Like, while they weren't looking, she places everything on the table. They're sitting down eating. And then the wife of the boss asks, well, I need to know, where did you guys meet? When did you get married? Why don't you have any kids? And that kind of made her pause for a second. I was just like, oh, shoot, like, what's going to happen? So they couldn't answer the question. They couldn't answer anything because they don't have any of that. So then at some point, his boss starts choking, and his wife doesn't seem to, I don't know if she just doesn't get it or she thinks that he's playing around, because he's like, oh, stop it. But that's all she keeps saying the whole time, that he's choking. And I'm like, this looks weird. So then at this point, they're sitting there. They know something's wrong, Wanda and Vision. And they're just like looking at each other. She's looking at him, and she then looks at Vision and just like, help him. Like, at this point, you got to do what you got to do. So he's laying on the floor now, the boss, and Vision goes and takes whatever that is out of his throat. And then at that moment, he gets up, and him and his wife are acting like he almost didn't choke to death. And she's like, all right, well, we gotta go. And I'm like, huh? Like, that's really strange. And then, Vision is up for a promotion. So at first it didn't look too good. But then after all that happened on their way out the door, he's like, we're going to have a long talk on Monday about that promotion. He was like, I'm proud of you, or says something to that effect. Don't quote me. And then they leave. And then at the end of the episode, it was pretty cute because she's just like, oh, we don't have any of that. We don't have a wedding. And so they were playing a song in his office, and then of course they thought it was like an anniversary date on their calendar that day, so they set that day for their anniversary. Their wedding song was the song that was playing in his office, and then she actually made them rings at that point, because at one point her neighbor asked her, well, where's your ring? And they kissed, and that was it. And then after that, it just ended like an old school sitcom. And I'm just like, wow, like I was expecting, I mean, I don't know what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting that. But I'm kind of curious to see how this goes, because I don't know what this was. Obviously I haven't seen any of this before. So I don't know how this is going to unfold, but I'm very intrigued, very, very intrigued. I don't know. And I think that whole they don't have kids part really kind of stumped her a little bit. So I'm curious to know, like, how is this gonna be the way that it is, or like, I don't know, but I'll have to check it out on the next episode. But anyway, leave your comments down below. Let me know if you enjoyed my review and my thoughts. Let me know what you guys thought of the first episode of WandaVision. And if you haven't done so, subscribe to my channel, hit like, share, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you guys can get notified whenever I pop up on your feed. I'll see you guys later. Toodles!